Hello out there. Welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. Big old sack of good stuff tonight, folks. As per usual, No Shit Cast delivering up to the minute, earth-shattering, world-changing news. This comes from Maximum.com. You can now bid on Darth Vader's suit from The Empire Strikes Back. Vader's suit is expected to sell for a shocking amount of money when it goes up for auction this month. If you were the one kid sitting in the theater watching The Empire Strikes Back wishing you were the badass behind Darth Vader's helmet, here's one hell of a chance to live out that childhood fantasy. As long as you have roughly the same build as the original Vader body actor David Prowse, I think that's how you say his name, Prowse. Prowse, who is 6'6", was also a bodybuilder. All actors who ended up in the Vader suit at major events in the 80s were about that size. So basically, this costume will only fit someone with the dimensions of Rob Gronkowski, the Gronk. The rest of us will just be proud to own an amazing collectible. And the Vader suit does not come cheap. Let's see. First, here's Bonham's description of what they have on the block. A complete Darth Vader costume from the Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 20th Century Fox 1980, comprising of Vader's helmet, a fiberglass face mask featuring plastic lenses, mesh mouth cover, and original straps and foam padding together with fitted dome helmet, shoulder armor, painted fiberglass with hinged shoulders, jerkin, blah, blah, blah. Basically, it's the whole damn suit, okay? Who's the Mr. Eller mentioned at the end above? That's where the suit's provenance gets a little complicated. What? Eller was Kermit Eller, who now goes by Bryce, a tall actor with a powerful James Earl Jones-like voice who made public appearances as Vader for the first couple of films, from 1977 to 79. According to the auction house, Eller wore the screen-used Vader costume, the only one produced for the film. The same listing also has this highly confusing note. Quote, "We can say with confidence that the entire suit, save the gloves, is production made. One of the handful made by John Molo's team at Elstree Studios in London in 1979. Some components may have been screen used, but it's difficult to say at this point. Nonetheless, the suit's completeness, remarkable condition, and excellent provenance make it a true rarity in the memorabilia market. Say they are prepared to have the suit analyzed by a memorabilia expert upon demand." I wonder how much. $2 million for this fucking thing. Holy shit. Oh my God. Regardless of who sweated inside the suit 40 years ago, it looks like it's about as real as the real deal can get at this point. Yeah, I could see someone going all in on this for $2 million. I mean, maybe it's worth it. It probably definitely has a value within certain markets. So while we're talking about entertainment, this is for Mental Floss. Apparently, Lady and the Tramp's controversial Siamese cat song is being reinvented for the new movie. Among many of the recently announced TV series and films to debut on Disney's upcoming streaming service, Disney Plus, is a live-action version of Lady and the Tramp, the classic 1955 animated love story between two dogs. While details behind the new film are still just coming out, it does appear they're planning on fixing a few wrongs from the original movie, namely the Siamese cat song. The unnerving song, which is featured during the scene where two cats, Cy and Am, are taunting the sweet Cocker Spaniel lady, has been called out numerous times over the years for presenting a racist depiction of Asian culture. So it's fortunate to hear the news that Disney Plus's adaptation will be replacing this cringeworthy tune. I guess that's kind of cool. You know, it's their property. They can do whatever the hell they want to it. I'm sure people are going to be like, oh my God, yeah, freaking people, snowflakes, blah, blah, whatever. ZME Science brings us this story, why the bubbles from Guinness go down and not up. Ooh, little physics action here, folks. This article is unfortunately not sponsored by Guinness, but we're open for discussion, they say. Beer is one of the most popular drinks in the world, and physicists take their beer very seriously. In a new study, a team of Japanese researchers analyzed an unusual phenomena related to one of the most famous and recognizable beers in the world, Guinness. That's right. The bubbles go down. Guinness is an Irish dark stout that's known for its remarkable taste and creamy texture, but researchers were interested in one thing which might escape most patrons of a pub. It's bubbles. Imagine pouring yourself a beer and try to visualize the bubbles. They go up, right? According to Archimedes' principle, bubbles in liquid generally rise because of the gas-liquid density difference. Yet in a pint of Guinness, bubbles also go down. Several studies have addressed this unusual issue, but overall the process is still somewhat of a mystery, in part due to the beer's black color, which obstructs all observations. That's why it's so good. A previous study, because you can't spy on it, man. It's like, you can't look at me. A previous study claimed that the bubbles' unusual behavior is owed to the particular shape of the Guinness glass. Now, a team led by Tomoki Watamura from the University of Osaka reports that's not really the case. Instead, there's a much more physical reason for how the bubbles behave. Quote, "We performed experiments on the bubbles distribution in Guinness, poured in an inclined container, and observed how the texture forms," the study reads. "We also report the texture formation in controllable experiments using particle suspension with precisely specified diameters and volume concentrations." I love that some eggheads have taken the time to run all these incredible tests. Look, I mean, in this article, you got to check this out because they actually have like illustrations of all the shit that they did. It's pretty crazy. There's pictures. Essentially, the bubble cascade in Guinness beer is caused by gravity current instability. Quote, "The hydrodynamic condition for the texture formation is analogous to the critical point of the roll wave." Well, of course it would be. Instability in fluid film, right? I mean, who doesn't know that? Which can be commonly observed in water films sliding downhill on a rainy day. Here, we identify the critical condition for the texture formation and conclude that the roll wave instability of the gravity current is responsible for the texture formation in a glass of Guinness beer, the researchers concluded. How the fuck am I going to explain that to somebody in a bar? I'm not even sure I understand it myself. Well, it's good beer. I like it. I love any beer you can eat with a fork. So, I'm down with that. This comes from Boing Boing. Drug paraphernalia that's 1,000 years old still contains traces of coke and DMT. People were partying a long time ago. In a Bolivian rock shelter likely used 1,000 years ago for religious rituals, archaeologists found a collection of drug paraphernalia that still contains traces of psychoactive plants. A pouch made from 3 fox snouts likely contained a stash of leaves and seeds. This is from New Scientist. The items include a 28-centimeter long leather bag, a pair of wooden snuffing tablets, a snuffing tube. I wonder what a snuffing tablet is. I know what a snuffing tube is. Well, I can derive what that is. A pair of llama bone spatulas, a textile headband. Gotta get your headband on. Fragments of dried plant stems, and a pouch made from 3 fox snouts stitched together. The snuffing tube and tablets feature ornate carvings of human-like figures. Melanie Miller of the University of Otago, New Zealand, and her colleagues used mass spectrometry to analyze samples from the pouch and plant stems. They detected 5 psychoactive compounds: cocaine, benzoylecognin or BZE, bufotenine, harmine, and dimethyltryptamine or DMT. The presence of these drugs suggests the pouch may have belonged to a ritual specialist or shaman with extensive knowledge of plants and their psychoactive properties, and used to hold leaves, seeds, and other plants. Ooh, yeah, it's a party bag, man. It's from back over 1,000 years ago. That's pretty cool. What's this one? Oh, here's a fun one. Now, back on the Facebook train here. This is from The Bite, or from Futurism, their subcategory, The Bite. Outsourced workers are training AIs with your private Facebook posts. Yep. Reuters reports that millions of Facebook photos, status updates, and other content posted since 2014, including private posts, have been combed over by outsourced workers in India in order to train the company's AIs and develop new features. It's yet another example of the social media network's careless handling of its billions of users' privacy. Giving third-party contractors access to data that's technically labeled as private is not a good look. Outsourcing firm Wipro Limited oversaw efforts to label posts and categorize them into 5 dimensions, as Facebook reportedly called them, including the subject, occasion, or intention of each post. About 200 more content labeling projects are in the works, according to Reuters, employing thousands more contracted workers. The posts include anything from vacation photos to memorials of deceased family members, and yes, they are sometimes tied to usernames, company officials told Reuters. Quote, "We make it clear in our data policy that we use the information people provide to Facebook to improve their experience, and that we might work with service providers to help in this process," end quote, a Facebook spokeswoman told Reuters. Previous privacy concerns have been raised around Facebook's treatment of the data it collects. The company got caught storing hundreds of millions of account passwords in plain text in March. CEO Mark Zuckerberg, a.k.a. the Douche-b, made it clear that the social giant wants to clear its name, and they'll spend any amount of money necessary to do so. No, I'm making that part up. It's at F8's developers conference at the end of last month was dedicated to brushing up its tarnished reputation, including declaring that it was fully committed to ensuring its users' privacy, and they'll put the horse back in the barn now. How's that go? It's too late. It's like shutting the barn door after the horse gets out. Thanks, Mark. But if the bad news keeps rolling in, that kind of message will ring hollow. Already is. Sorry to tell you. This comes from Futurism. Specific people are weirdly good at predicting the future. So let's peer into the crystal ball, shall we? If a world-renowned expert makes a prediction about the future, there's a good chance that they'll be wrong. Historically, scientific evidence suggests that the people best suited to predict future world events are generalists who dabble in all sorts of fields, according to a fascinating new book excerpt in The Atlantic. Because they're less beholden to their own biases. On the other hand, people who have built up an impressive but narrowly focused expertise tend to make less accurate predictions because they tend to be limited by their own worldviews. One might expect that people who have dedicated their lives to one field of study may be able to predict where that field is going, but data is suggesting that the very opposite began to emerge after a 20-year experiment began in 1984. In that experiment, seasoned experts and academics were pitted up against generalists, people who read voraciously and had a variety of interests, in a contest of predicting near and distant financial, political, and other events. While people tend to gravitate toward confident experts, the generalists crushed the contest, per The Atlantic. People with strong ideologies, one way or another, all failed to predict the rapid collapse of the Soviet Union because they interpreted evidence through the lens of their own opinions. For example, while generalists were more likely to see it coming. Boy, that says a lot. The difference, according to the 20-year study, is that people who dabbled in a bunch of different fields learned from their errors. Meanwhile, the more narrowly focused experts doubled down on their worldviews, often blaming some small, unpredictable variable for their inaccuracy and becoming increasingly confident in their beliefs. As Philip Tetlock, the scientist behind the 20-year study, wrote at the time, quote, "There is often a curiously inverse relationship between how well forecasters thought they were doing and how well they did." Well, that's what, they're believing their own bullshit. It's like they're finding a way to justify their own bullshit. It's kind of how that works out, right? Although I think we're probably all guilty of that. I know I certainly am. I've made some wild-ass predictions that haven't come true based on looking through the world or looking at the world through my own paradigm or through my own lens, which it's fun. You ought to try to get rid of that. It's kind of helpful. It starts with getting rid of your fucking ego, though, which is not easy. So it kind of wraps it up here, folks. It's my big bag of stuff for the night. Shit I found that was interesting and so on and so forth. Thanks for all the, again, keeping up the YouTube comments and everything out there. I really appreciate it. I love the feedback. It lets me know, if I'm in the ballpark kind of shit. Make sure you go check us out, www.noshitcast.com, KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit them like and subscribe buttons, folks, and thanks for everybody who keeps sharing us out there. Leave me a comment any place if I like it, and it's not, a douchebag comment. I'll give you a shout out and read it here on the air, and we'll circle back and revisit whatever it was the comments from. Possibly, no guarantees, and it is the No Shit Cast. I kind of do whatever the hell I want. So thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch y'all next time. Bye, Pickles.